Okay, I'd like to ask Vice Chair Patterson to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a quorum. We have a full attendance from the board members and others. First thing I'd like to do is introduce our brand new board member, Nolan Sales. The process was interesting. We actually had an open board seat, and we actually had almost 13 or 14 applications. The executive committee went through those applications, selected 3 very highly qualified individuals who went through an interview on May 20th. You may have seen that. That was an open meeting. And a vote was taken, and Nolan, you won. So welcome. Did you have anything you'd like to say?
Yes, just thank you guys for the opportunity. I've been an Anthem resident for 3 years, 3 small children that attend Diamond Canyon, and just really excited to be part of this board and contribute to the community.
Thank you and welcome again. Okay, first item is I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion from the board? None? Any discussion from the audience? None. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion passes. Next, we have a presentation by the Victory Autism Academy. You could turn your microphone on and introduce yourself. Push it.
Good evening. I'm Elena Rebius. I'm the principal of the Victory Autism Academy campus here in Anthem. Thank you guys for having me this evening to talk to you about our not new school. We are a first-year campus within the Victory family. Victory Autism Academy started in 2020 with our first campus in Goodyear. I started with Victory that first year as a support staff, worked my way up as a teacher to assistant principal, and now the principal here in Anthem. One of the things I want to talk to you guys about is the stuff that we do with our students on the autism spectrum. We have small classes. We have 1 teacher, 2 support staff per class with 12 to 14 students. We offer speech and OT services that do a push and pull out model to provide those services for our students. We have multiple specials that we run. We have art once a week, animal therapy once a week. That's their favorite. We have a contract with Carter's Farms here in Phoenix. They bring different animals every week for the kids to interact with. We had, my favorite was the camel. We had a camel and a kangaroo show up one week. That kind of blew their socks off. We have PE 4 times a week. We want these kids to get out and move around. We have music therapy. I'm looking at my notes. I think you guys all got our little flyer here. We have life skills and social skills training. We're very big on independence, and that differs for every student. It could be a student walking in carrying their own backpack to a student using the restroom for the first time on their own, or just advocating for themselves, saying that they need something from one of us staff members. We also have individualized instruction. Everything is differentiated and individualized to meet their specific needs and their goals. We take them on community outings. We want them out in the community to show everybody how amazing and remarkable these guys are. I feel that they're greatly underestimated. Nobody really knows how great these kids are until they get the chance to interact with them. We have a lot of different programs that we do with our school. One of the things that we do is our 6-point impact plan, where we are doing different programs to help our students out, whether it's helping them with Beyond the Tassel that helps them with college. We have the Angel program that provides much needed school supplies, things like that for our students. The newest program that we have that's starting this year is called the Victory Horizon LifeWorks. That is a program that is starting with the 26-27 year, and that is to help our students 18 to 22 after they graduate. to help them gain those life skills that they need to go out into the world, get that job, learn how to do an interview, how to interact with various people, various businesses, stuff like that. The other side of that is our life skills lesson. That's teaching them those daily life skills, personal hygiene, social development, and meaningful daily activities. We want to give these kiddos as many skills as we can, like I said, to go out into the world and show them just how great and fantastic they really are and what they're capable of, because they are capable of so much. Does anybody have any questions? I talk really fast, I apologize.
How could we help you as a board in Anthem?
Well, my main purpose right now, we're just trying to get the word out. Like I said, we're a first-year campus here in Anthem. We currently have 21 students. Today was our last day of school, so the kids were very excited for summer break. We just had our kinder promotion yesterday, so we had 5 kinders promote to first grade. I was really excited about that. We are just looking to get our names out there and let the community know that we're here and we want to help. And if we're a benefit for their student, that's what we're here for. I know we're kind of tucked back in over there on opportunity, off of Opportunity and Vision Way, so not a lot of people know that we're here. I have been to all of the events here in Anthem, and I will say, I'm from Buckeye, but you guys have an amazing community up here. You guys are so welcoming. It's fantastic up here. I love working up here. All the people that I've met, you guys have been great and really welcoming to all of us, so so we just want to get ourselves out there so that people know we're here and that we're here to help.
Well, we appreciate you doing what you do, and if we can help you with anything, please reach out to our community council if we can do anything for you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're on item 6, staff reports. Aaron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate that. I think you stole the punchline there. We have a new board member, Director Sales, so that you see his lovely picture right up there. So we won't dwell on that, but I will say he is serving for the 2026 through 2029 term. So it was a 3-year term that was available, so he will serve that full time. Some communities do it until the next election or something like that, but our documents read that's for the full remaining time, which is 3 years. Want to make sure the public's aware that there's a public safety roundtable on June 2nd here in this room. Next is political signs. 'Tis the season. So with the primary election coming up, we are 71 days prior to the primary election. Signs can go up. So you've seen some popping up around town. They can go in the public right-of-way. That's one of the big questions we get a lot of the times is, hey, can that go in the middle of the street? And the answer is yes, it can. We have an agreement with McDOT that allows us to take down commercial signs or advertising, but our agreement specifically states that we do not have any authority to remove any sort of political signs. Those are protected under state law in a different way. There is an asterisk on that. If those signs block sight lines or create a safety hazard in some way, we report those to the county or City of Phoenix, and then they assess that, and then they do have the authority, if it is a safety situation, to remove that sign through a process that they have established, but we do not. The only political signs the ACC removes are those on ACC property. And every year we do have a few who put their signs on our property, so we communicate with the candidates and let them know that. So that's what's going on with political signs. I know that comes up often. Our community educational series rolls on. We had City of Phoenix present in this room on regional growth. It's on YouTube, so we would encourage you to go to our channel if you're watching on YouTube. It's just one of the other videos that you can watch there. A great opportunity. They talked a lot about what they are planning long-term in this area, and there are some very interesting plans. I think that people would be interested in knowing what kind of the City of Phoenix is thinking about for the west side of I-17 there. So there's that, and then there will be a Halo Vista presentation on June 11th at 6 p.m. That is going to be down in the community center off of Pinnacle. That's the North Gateway Village Planning Committee meeting. Halo Vista, they're some of the developers associated with the TSMC project. We are working on a presentation date with TSMC, and that will be this fall as well. So But if folks want to be informed about what's going on in the area, they're talking that night. That's a great opportunity. That is a public meeting. It's not an ACC meeting. It's a City of Phoenix meeting, but all are welcome. So Neighborhood Watch, Anthem Neighborhood Watch is looking for some leadership still. We haven't had anyone step forward and say they want to head up that program, but we do need some support. It's a great service that they render. So if you're interested in that, please contact me or anyone else on ACC staff. We can put you with the right folks on that. And then finally, just as a general piece of awareness, as people come up or as they talk in the microphone, or come up to talk, we need to talk into the microphone so the people in TV land can hear you. If you're not talking in the microphone and you can't hear yourself on the overhead, it's not coming across on YouTube. So that's just a friendly reminder there. On business services update, we have a new compliance specialist starting June 1. It is Mary Beth Zahn. Some of you may be familiar with that name. Mary Beth was the former retired community manager of Parkside. I think she got bored in retirement and decided to come back out, and will be doing that job part-time for us. We appreciate her and her expertise. Also, a couple of months ago, I was asked a question about starting a business in Anthem, so I wanted to go over that briefly at this point. So if someone wants to come and start a business here in Anthem, they would go to a property, find a property that works. They would work with the property manager to sign a lease. There is not an approval process required with the ACC for them to go in. Now, we have generally had good relationships with property managers in the past. And so if a use comes in that's kind of, you're like, is that going to be allowed or not? Because certain uses are allowed in certain areas and not in others. That property manager will usually call us and say, hey, what's your take on this? Is this permitted or not permitted? And so we'll review the documents and say, yep, that's just fine, or nope, that can't go there. But there's not an obligation for them to do that. And so that does create some friction sometimes, because sometimes businesses can come in and start going. And we really rely on the property manager and our property managers and our relationships with them to help be a partnership there. Often the next time we're informed is when they want to have a sign. Then the property manager will say, hey, why don't you go get your sign approved? You've got to get our approval as the property manager, the county or city, and the Anthem Community Council's approval for that sign. So that's where we'll see businesses come in as well. But if they just are doing tenant improvements and they're not putting up a sign, they actually don't have to get our approval to do that. So that's a little bit of how a business would start there. From there, they can continue to operate, and as long as they are within the permitted uses, they're just fine, because our contract is actually with the property owner. We don't have a contract with the business to go in. So if you have ABC widgets, and you are just renting a space within a commercial complex, you actually have no formal relationship with the Anthem Community Council. Your property owner LLC, they have the contract with us, or the agreement. And so that's how we function. So it's a little different than a city, but there are touch points still in there. So kind of covered that quickly. Any questions on that? I know that this topic had come up earlier, so I wanted to give a quick overview. If there were any other questions on that. So, okay, then that concludes my report. And then we'll hand it over to Ms. Dahl for Human Resources update.
Thank you, Aaron. For our current workforce snapshot, we are currently at 219 employees, and that includes 52 full-time and 167 part-time and seasonal employees. Overall, the headcount is trending consistent to Q2 last year. So you see that influx of our seasonal staffing. And the primary roles there are lifeguard positions and the children's camp programs. The current employment opportunities continue to be posted on the ACC website. I think we are almost full, so that'll be nice to no longer have that particular recruiting. For employee recognition and activities, I want to share with you from our all-hands meeting this month. We gave an award for managing community resources with care and pride to an employee. It was to Gabrielle Farinacci in recognition for her support of operations at Civic Building, both assisting the residents and the employees. And I know Gabrielle is hiding behind that screen, so tell her congrats when you see her. And then also during that meeting, we secretly made this decision, but we were able to surprise Dana Morgan and give her the quarterly Champ Award, which was given to her for demonstrating strong leadership and commitment to ACC's organizational values through her work in HR. Her professionalism, integrity, and dedication has had a positive impact on the organization while staying grounded in our core values. So that was fun to do, and congratulations to Dana. The annual all-company barbecue was held on May 7th at the Community Center Pool, featuring the head grill master, Aaron Baker. And this annual spring event celebrates not only the ACC employees, but it serves as the opportunity for us to take our group picture that we have hanging up on the second floor here from years past. As for HR projects and training, we are finally wrapped up, I believe, with the seasonal employees at the community center. Because of the significant amount of employees that are coming on and the moving pieces, it's a large project for Dana, but Scott's team does such a wonderful job that it's almost a non-event at this point. So we're really pleased that that onboarding process has been, for the most part, completed this season. And we recently completed the employee satisfaction survey with 86% of participation across all questions. Overall feedback was positive, with employees sharing especially favorable comments regarding their direct supervisor and team culture. So those are two keys that we're always looking for. A follow-up survey will be conducted to measure progress later this year. Prior to that survey, one of our focuses that we want to work on is organizational enhancing communication and collaboration between departments, and continuing to build employee confidence so that they know that their feedback is meaningful and heard and acted upon. So we're really pleased that the employees felt safe to be able to do that survey, and we're looking forward to the next one. And then also in May, we completed the active shooting training for employees. Upcoming training will include respectful workforce training, which we'll have for both managers and employees, along with the biannual customer service training. This time it's themed Creating Positive Experiences, and I'll be working with the community center and civic building customer-facing staff. So more to come on that, but that's one of my favorite things, and we're going to be doing that in June. I'm going to pass it over to Scott.
All right, thank you, Tanya. And as she mentioned, we brought all of those summer staff in because summer is here. The Big Splash Water Park opened successfully on Saturday. It was very busy. We got a nice new cabanas, new umbrellas. Everything looks really good. I want to say it's probably the best it's looked in 25 years. So come check it out if you haven't been in a while. We are open every day in the summer. The water park is 10 to 7 Monday through Saturdays and 10 to 6 on Sundays. I did get some numbers this morning to talk about our summer programs. We have 213 registrations for camp, and that's spread out over all weeks. We're averaging about 90 to 100 per day, which is right where we want to be. As of this morning, we had 112 children in our swim lesson program, 151 in our summer recreational swim team. We are about 70 on our Dolphins year-round swim team. We had 14 in our dive program and 32 registered so far for our junior lifeguard program, which is one of the more fun summer programs that we've run here for a long time. We're doing some Friday night food trucks in collaboration with events. Those are select Fridays in June and July, so check the website for more info on that. Obviously, we just talked about the lifeguards. They are ready to go, so you'll see them out there doing their little tests. So do not call 911. They'll let you know that it's just a test, and we will call 911. That's our job. So that has happened in the past, and that's why we do a little speaker, let everybody know, hey, this is just a test, because we don't need to waste Daisy Mountain's time. But if we need them, they will be there. We successfully completed all our spring programs. We had spring swim lessons that were 100% full, and everything's going great out there. It's really busy. Afternoons are the busiest, so if you want to go for a lap swim at like 4:30 or 5 o'clock, go before or after that, because 5 o'clock is crazy out there right now. We're working with Daisy Mountain for our annual Water Safety Day. That's going to be June 27th from 3 to 6. We'll do some swim demos, some rescue demos, and Daisy Mountain will be out there asking questions, doing some community outreach. Some of our other programs running that I mentioned on the attendance, we have the AZ Heat Diving, our private swim lessons program, which is really big, and water aerobics is Monday through Friday with a new water Zumba class on Saturday mornings that you can try. We did pass our county pool inspections, and then we will have our SGE lifeguard audit toward the end of June, as well as our camp audit should be at some point this week. They like to come the first week to surprise us, but it's not a surprise at this point. With sports and fitness, our rec soccer and indoor volleyball finished up, and next week we'll start our indoor basketball program for the summer. If you haven't been inside in a while, come check out the rock wall. I'm calling it the glow up. We have brand new routes, all clean, and some new belays, new holds on there. It's really great. That was all done internally by some of our staff. So shout out to Danny from front desk and her team. Braden in particularly, he's our climbing expert. He routed everything, went to a rock gym, got some input from them. So we have varying levels of difficulty. So the little kids still have their routes, and then there's some harder routes. They did ask me if I would try, and I said I'm above the weight limit, so other people are welcome to try. Like I mentioned, our rec basketball program will start June 1st, and other sports programs running include summer tennis camps. Every morning we have summer lessons. We got pickleball programs happening as soon as those courts are open back up, which we'll hear about. Tot sports for the young ones. Our adult softball is still finishing up. And then I did have a comment on sports. We had some questions about the gym and the use. In the summer, the gym gets used quite a lot because camp's in there. But currently, the gym is only being used by ACC programs. We do some renting of the courts throughout the year for various things. We also do some homeschool third-party groups during the school year, but right now everything in the gym, it's all led by our ACC employees. So that includes anything you'll see out there from a morning fitness class as part of our contract with our ICs with fitness, then any coaching, any programs, that's all being run in-house. So I know there had been some questions about the gym availability, and we try our best to keep it open as much as possible, but there are some times of day when you might have like a basketball practice and a camp or a fitness class and something like that. So just wanted to address that. And then back out to the fields, we did successfully complete our first run at working with Boulder Creek for parking. We had 83 registered for that program, and we've already posted that will open up the next year's at the end of July once Boulder Creek parking is sold. So we don't want to compete with the school. We just want to be overflow. So we won't open that officially until we've heard from the school that they are all out of spots, which will probably happen on the first day of school. The staff was busy wrapping up sports, so thank you to Mike and his team and the guys on my team that helped get all of the fields looking great for this busy spring season. We've also been supporting Steve's teams with the special events, Music in May, and our Park Patrol out there. So we're just they're the one group that's looking forward to it warming up because it'll calm down out at the park. So that'll be coming up soon. And we did have a special visit. This is the first time, at least since I've been in Anthem, that we've done this. We had representatives from AZ Parks and Rec came out last week. We gave them a tour of all of our sports facilities, the park, the community center, the pool, and they were very complimentary. They actually said Anthem has done more with the space than any of the other cities that they go to. So just because most people don't have everything centrally located like we do, they're spread out over multiple parks and multiple centers. So that was a pretty nice thing for them to say on that visit, and it went really well. And then finally, we got camp going on. We talked about hiring all those camp staff and how busy it is. Everyone got trained, hired. Like I said, the audit will be sometime this week. We're running a teen series every week. So this week we have the junior guard. Next week we'll run junior guard for that age group. And then every week we're either running a skills where they can learn life skills or sports one. And that's just something we're trying to do to keep that age group busy, because we know what happens with the teens when they're not busy, because we'll be talking about e-bikes later. And And then we do have our child and babysitting classes where they can get certified for babysitting. We'll be running one of those June 20th and August 24th. And then some of our classes shift over to the Civic Building for summer because we're so busy with camp. So thank you to Civic Building for letting us visit over here. We will do our best to not be crazy, but I know we got jujitsu, chess, some of the painting, and some quieter classes over here. And that'll just be for the next couple months. That's it. I'm going to turn it over to Mike.
Thank you, Scott. For the Parks, Facilities, and Construction Department, in the facilities segment, the Civic Building parking structures, we've had the metal work done to repair some of the bent shade structures outside, and they began painting, but they did not finish as they were supposed to. They'll be back again next weekend to complete the painting on that. We've had the termite warranty and the termite treatment around the Civic Building completed several weeks ago. The Community Center HVAC servicing has been completed, and we've done some sensor repairs, and I think if anybody goes in there this year, it's much cooler and much more comfortable for everyone. We've completed the preliminary inspections before the state inspectors come out for the Community Center. And the ACC Safety Committee and training platforms are currently being updated and brought up to spec again for another year. In the landscaping segment, we've installed a special events signage at the community center so that the banners are displayed properly and everybody gets to see about the special events no matter where they're coming from. We've completed the landscape modifications at the community center back by the water park, both to improve visual safety for the lifeguards and several other things that were affecting the area back there, and it looks really great. So congratulations to my guys and to Scott's team for bringing that forward. We've completed the aeration thatching for all turf throughout Anthem, and we're now transitioning over to the Bermuda grass for the summertime, and they've begun fertilizing for that. Within the parks at the AVM, we've completed polishing of the actual obelisk structures, and then we've done some additional wax removal on the pavers because there were some incidents where people were burning candles and it kind of discolored the surface in a few spots. We are currently working on a design for caps on top of those structures to prevent water intrusion, because after 15 years, 16 years, they're starting to get some water inside them and causing us some problems. So we're working on designs for that. We've replaced the shade covers for the Little League and softball fields, so if you go out there, they're all brand new. Hopefully that'll protect a little bit from the sunshine. We'll see about that. As Scott had indicated, the high-density field usage is tapering off right now, so my guys are really looking forward to not having so many players on the fields and so much upkeep, but they're not looking forward to the sun. Sorry about that, Scott. I know that your team's really rooting for that. We have completed 4 out of the 6 music in May, or as I say, Mayish, because we actually have one in June as well. So that's been doing very well, but I don't want to steal Steve's thunder on that. In the construction division, the pool house, we were doing some roofing repairs. They had told us the specialty profile metal had come in and they were going to be completed, and they lied. So we still have that on the schedule to be done. I don't know when that's going to happen. We're waiting for the correct materials to come in this time. We have scheduled the painting of the softball and the Little League roofs as soon as the usage has died down enough and it cools off enough, because we can't paint the roofs when it's too hot out. So we're trying to schedule that out. The resurfacing of the pickleball courts, the original 10, is on schedule and is predicted to be done as we had mentioned by the 31st of this month. So fingers crossed, hope we have no vandalism or any problems with that, but I'm pretty sure we're going to take care of it. We were doing a poly to PVC project, at the corner of Meridian and Daisy Mountain, and we run into some snags with the underground boring, and we have suspended the project for right now. We're also investigating some other avenues of getting the work done that are not too expensive. For the capital projects, the community center locker room ERV modifications are done. They've they seem to be operating great. They're nice and cool. There's no artifact smells in there, so we're very happy about that. The Liberty Bell Park and FMP project, all structures and all bids have been secured. We are currently below budget, and we are setting up sequencing and getting the scheduling set up for that. But we anticipate doing the construction during the summer without interrupting use of the splash pad itself. So hopefully come fall, it'll all be ready, and it'll all be changed, converted over. For the FMP projects in 2027, the process and standard operating procedures, we're in discussion right now. So we're working on getting that all tied back together. With that, I will turn it over to finance. Dee, it's all yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm going to be reviewing the financial reports through April. It's really hard to follow up all that cool, fun stuff with the finance report. Tonight's report should actually be pretty short and sweet. It is not a quarter end, so we don't have all of the extra reporting. And really, not much has changed as far as trends and variances so far this year. So you'll see a lot of the same themes. So we'll start with this summarized statement of revenue and expense, or the income statement for the month of April and year-to-date through April. Down at the bottom line, we can see that there's an operating surplus of about $261,000 year-to-date, and that's favorable to budget by $270,000. Up in revenue, we're about $25,000 higher than budget through April, and that's mainly due to a higher level of facility rentals so far this year. This is specifically outdoor park facility rentals with people enjoying the cooler temps before summer. And then one other number I wanted to point out in the revenue section is that we are now favorable to budget for enhancement fees year to date. There was a commercial sale in April that kind of helped push that over the finish line. And down in the expense section, there's about $246,000 in savings or possibly timing in a few different areas, and these have been pretty consistent so far this year. We have some savings in personnel of about $146,000, in administrative cost of about $23,000, and this is mainly some savings in legal costs so far this year. And in community programming, events, and facilities, we have savings so far this year. However, the summer months will ramp up costs for most of those areas. And below operations is the net income or loss for all the other funds, reserve, enhancement, and the property fund. On a consolidated basis, ACC has an $828,000 loss for the year so far. And just a couple notes on that. More than half of that is depreciation expense. And as a quick reminder, the reserve fund is budgeted for a $1.2 million loss this year. So we'll see that number increase over the course of the year. Our next report is the balance sheet as of April 30th, and then comparing the year-over-year change compared to the prior year end. And I'm starting out this time with the interfund receivables and payables already removed, so we can see the true change on both sides of the report. So we're seeing the same continued trends on this report as well. Assets have increased about $175,000, which with $40 million in assets is not a huge change. The primary drivers are an increase in cash up at the top and the recognition of depreciation expense down towards the bottom. And those items in the middle in the green box are just fluctuations in receivables and prepaid expenses due to timing. Over on the other side, in liabilities and equity, same bottom line change of $175,000. And this comes from the consolidated net loss figure down at the bottom, and we just saw that on the income statement. And then up at the top, there's some timing items for amounts that other people owe us. Accounts payable, liability, deferred revenue. And as promised, short and sweet. Unless there are any questions, I will hand it over to Steve.
Thank you, Dee. For special events and communications, Memorial Day was this past Monday. The Daisy Mountain veterans put on a wonderful ceremony for the residents and guests of Anthem. A special thanks to Mike Krask and the PNF department for making the AVM look beautiful as always, and to Jim Riga and the Park Patrol staff for ensuring the event went smoothly. Music in May is in full swing and the turnouts have been incredible. You can still attend one more Music in May this Friday and a very special encore Music in May on June 5th with a special performance by Anthem's local band, The Deadline, in preparation for the band's departure this summer to play for the USO and deployed troops overseas. There will be a booth set up to record messages that will be sent to the troops overseas. Anthem's Market in the Park is having its last market this Sunday before we close for the summer and will be returning on September 13th. Anthem's Independence Day ceremony is on July 3rd in the community park. The event starts at 6:30 and will include live music, water rides, food vendors, and of course, fireworks. Please come early as parking is a premium and bring a chair or a blanket to sit, relax, and enjoy the evening. The Anthem Business Directory is in full swing on anthemcouncil.com. We are approaching up to 60 local Anthem-based businesses listed. If you would like to list your local Anthem business, please visit our website for details. The resident photo contest for 2026 is going strong, and thank you to all the residents who have submitted their photos. The ACC's e-bike safety campaign to educate both riders and parents on the dangers and consequences of unsafe riding continues, and additional information can be found on our website. Thank you to Basis North Phoenix School for their students' incredible artwork displayed at both the east and west entrance of the Civic Building. If you notice on the west entrance over here, we have the newly just put up today Titanic, which was put together by their 6th grade students. And also on the east side entrance, you'll see in celebration of our 250th anniversary of the United States, the artwork from 3rd and 6th graders, which is there for everybody to enjoy. The carpet replacement in the veterans room on the 2nd floor and adjoining offices has been completed and looks great. A special thank you to Youth for Troops and the Daisy Mountain veterans for helping us. And if you've been up in that room, you know those little side offices are packed to the gills with stuff. Courtney, thank you, and to all the staff for helping getting all that done this weekend. They worked all weekend long to make sure it got done. Also, over at the Adventure Playground, over by the restrooms, you see a newly installed bulletin board, which is there for programs and special events to post things up there. So go by and take a look. That is it. Does anybody have any questions about anything? No? Okay, I will turn it back over to Chairman Duckworth.
Is any questions from the board for any of the staff members?
Yes, I have a question of Mike. Regarding the 2027 FMP project process, are you considering having a committee from our residents as we have done in the past? Okay, just wanted to make sure, put that plug in for that. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? And we need a motion to accept the staff reports and the financials.
I move we accept the staff reports and the financial reports with the sincere thanks for the hard work.
Is there a second? Any further discussion from the board? Any questions or discussion from the audience? Okay, with that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. It passes. All right, next on the agenda is something new called executive business. Jonathan, you want to explain that to us?
Absolutely. So the board will be continuing its process of having discussion regarding privileged and confidential information in the executive session prior to the open meeting that we're in right now. But when there's votes that need to be taken in relation to those conversations and discussions, those votes will happen out here in the open meeting, and this will be the time where we'll take that vote. For tonight's purposes, there are no votes for your consideration.
Thank you, Jonathan. Next on the agenda is committee updates. Finance Committee, Director McKenzie.
Hi, we had a short meeting yesterday. I'll let Ms. Nortman report on that.
Thank you. As said, it was kind of a short meeting. We just don't have a lot of changes in the financials to discuss. Everything's going pretty well. We did have 2 new Finance Committee members that were just appointed tonight. They sat in. New committee members, Peter Cutbill and Nathan Bedard, who is in the audience tonight, have joined. So we're happy to have them. And there was a little discussion to follow, and then we wrapped up in about 20 minutes, I think.
Okay, thank you. And any update on the Anthem Business Support Committee? We are meeting tomorrow. I don't have an update. Bob, did you want to say anything? Okay, so we'll have more to report at the next meeting. Yep. All right, I need a motion to accept the committee reports.
I move we accept the committee reports.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion from the board? Any from the audience? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? None. It passes. Is there any old business? Nope. Okay. New business. Aaron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the opportunity. This agenda item is, if we keep going one more. Keep going. There we go. This agenda item is for discussion only. This was requested last month to have a discussion about electric mobility devices. Often we call them e-bikes, but there's a lot more nuance in this discussion. And so kind of the overarching term I'm going to try to use tonight is just that, electric mobility devices. So next slide, please. And we'll talk about context and safety concerns associated with it. Okay, so to start out right here, I think there isn't a community in the United States right now that doesn't have questions and concerns about youth, especially riding e-bikes or electric devices, if scooters, motorcycles, whatever. There are concerns. They worry about the speed. They worry about safety, other drivers. And quite frankly, there's a patchwork of regulation of laws surrounding this as well across the nation. So, you know, rightfully so, I think we all have a story where we've either seen a kid or had a friend, someone's been injured, someone's done something stupid. I know there's some stuff floating around online right now about people doing some stupid things on ACC property and flexing about it online. So, you know, we're trying to address those concerns. Next point about governance and strategic priorities. One of our priorities is to continue to partner with public agencies that serve Anthem. The Anthem Community Council does not have the authority to arrest anyone. We don't have any laws that say in Anthem you can do this or you can't do that. Those are police powers that are with police agencies. We have certain authority to regulate aesthetics, some things that happen on our property, but if someone's doing something within Anthem in generally there aren't a lot of things we can do about it. That would be with the police if that type of activity is happening. So I want to emphasize this point of partnering with our public safety agencies here with Phoenix PD and with MCSO. So we have a good relationship with them and we appreciate them and their efforts and what they do. And then our real role is to focus on education and advocacy here, making sure our residents are aware of the do's and don'ts and what to do if they do see something, how to act there. And also we can advocate. We can say, okay, our community is concerned about X or Y, and these are some things we can do about that. And we'll talk about that in a minute. There are some regulatory gaps and inconsistencies that exist right now. City of Phoenix has a completely different set of standards than Maricopa County does. So if a kid's riding on a call it a motorcycle, electric motorcycle, on the Phoenix side, there are completely different rules. If it, let's say it's a 14-year-old, that 14-year-old should not be doing that on the Phoenix side. On the Maricopa County side, though, there are no rules. I shouldn't say there are no rules. There are not the same set of rules on the Maricopa County side. So it creates some confusion there. And then, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we only have authority over our own property. So like the community park, the community center, things like that. So we're going to focus our efforts on education and state advocacy. Next slide, please. So there are different classes. We're borrowing this from the City of Phoenix because the City of Phoenix does a good job of articulating the differences here, and they regulate them differently. Maricopa County doesn't draw as clear lines as these. There's the electric bicycles or electric bikes. Those are bikes. They have pedals and pedals that work. They're not just aesthetics, because there are some manufacturers who make pedals that don't pedal. They just are there for people to rest their feet on. So those electric bicycles, that's one group that they have. Then they have electric scooters, which are another group that they regulate there. And then finally, I think the group that everyone's probably the most concerned about is the motor-driven cycle there. These are the electric motorcycles that you see the kids doing the wheelies up and down Anthem Way or Gavilan Peak. I think that's the area where everyone says, hey, what's going on there? I don't think it's, people going for a bike ride and pedaling or going on their scooter as often. And some of these bikes are very high powered. They can do 50, 60 miles per hour and can be, look and act like a regular vehicle in many ways. So the City of Phoenix regulates them as if they were a motorcycle for all intents and purposes there. So next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to talk about some regulatory gaps and just the broader trends of what's going on with the United States today. Talked about this a little bit at the beginning. I'm going to use the state of Utah since recently they passed some legislation regulating these. There was an article attached in the packet, so if you had a chance to read that, it's pretty interesting. Requiring some education, insurance, they put age restrictions in place, helmets, pretty comprehensive. And it was to try to catch up with what's happening out there in the world. California also has a set of regulations and guidelines as well. So there are other states, local jurisdictions are trying to do things like the City of Phoenix. They're trying to do something, but again, other jurisdictions aren't. So it creates that patchwork. The legal accountability cases. There are several cases out there. There's one going on in California right now, for example, where an older gentleman was actually hit and killed by a teenager under age 16. And he was on a e-motorbike. And then the mom is potentially facing, well, she's not potentially, she is facing charges for manslaughter there. So quite the accountability out there in some cases. So obviously we want to try to avoid injuries or harm or anything like that. But it's just like I said, it's a patchwork of what's going on across the nation right now. But let's look a little bit at Arizona. Next slide, please. So our current state regulations are not built for e-bikes or e-motorcycles or anything like that. They don't address anything like that of the modern electric assisted technologies out there. They just don't. And then there are gaps and overlaps, like I said, between cities. They create some inconsistencies. As you talk to the police, it's frustrating to them as well. Some judges rule one way, some judges rule a different way. There has been some work in the legislature this most recent session. Senate Bill 1008 attempted to regulate these devices. It attempted to limit speed, but the bill just kind of died. Didn't really get anywhere during the legislative session. And I don't think there have been any other real bills that have got any traction there on this as well. So there's some awareness of this, but there's not really a consensus on how to deal with it. It'll take, I think, some other states doing stuff and then kind of borrowing from others But this is an area where the ACC can have some influence on the legislature. We could adopt a position and say, hey, these are some things we think would be wise to adopt statewide. So that would be the statewide standards there. So next slide, please. And so here are our options. Don't mean to belabor this. Next slide, please. Target education efforts right now, as Mr. Jankowski referenced, we are doing a campaign. We do it in our newsletters and our website, on social media, and we do other things to try to make sure people are aware, both from just a regulatory position, but also from a safety perspective as well. It is difficult though, because we straddle two different jurisdictions. If we say, hey, this rule applies in Phoenix or this rule applies in Maricopa County, it's hard to get a real salient message that way. You know, it's kind of like you have to put a little asterisk right there and say, in the fine print at the bottom, it says, you know, so we do our best. We're doing everything we can. We advocate for safe usage and things like that, make people aware that, hey, on our property, in the community park, for example, you can't ride. And I know our park patrol constantly works with kids to make sure that they're aware of that and are enforcing things. And we've had some success, especially once we get parents involved. Parents really help. Some of that anonymity of buzzing around with a helmet on and no one has any idea who you are emboldens people. So as we've been able to get identities and communicate with parents, that helps. So, and just as a general point, education obviously reduces misinformation and sets realistic expectations there. So we will continue to work in that vein as an organization. And then we do partner with our public safety agencies for all of our events. They're always welcome, and we give them a space. We don't charge them because we just think it's that important to have MCSO or Phoenix PD or Daisy Mountain Fire there helping share information as well and communicating with the public. And I know I've been there. They get asked these types of questions. Hey, can my kid have this? Can my kid do that? And they're very good about talking about those questions and answering them, because truly a lot of those answers need to come from them since they're the enforcement arm of it. They should communicate the standards and the consequences that do occur there. So next slide, please. So what can the ACC do? Or do more, I should say, because I feel like we're doing a lot right now. We can advocate for a uniform statewide standard. We could develop a policy or a direction that says, hey, we feel like the state should pass regulations that look like this based on maybe what other states are doing or other communities are doing. But I think we're a good example of being stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's not that we don't want to do something, it's that we can't. We just don't have authority. And we straddle two different jurisdictions. So it makes it difficult for a community of almost 30,000 people to be able to kind of help there when we have just those different standards. So one of the things would be to write a letter there. There was also some discussion, I will add to this, a potential point would be maybe to do a community outreach forum. I will say, my experience has been maybe those who need to attend aren't the first to attend that, and the people who have the concerns are the ones who do attend. So sometimes it's preaching to the choir. But I think if Phoenix PD and MCSO are the ones we invite to come help lead that, I think that's where we'll get some success and traction on that. And that would have to be done later this year. I think trying to do that during the summer would be a exercise in futility because everyone's on vacation and no one's paying attention to that. Even though the activity continues to go on, I just think that we get a better community response once school gets in and things settle down a little bit. So like I said, this is for discussion. So we want to make sure that we're considering all points and we're looking at things you want us to look at and answering questions you want answered there. So our questions are, do you want us to look at a letter? Are there additional areas where we should maybe put regulations in place on our property? Right now it's only the community park. And then are there additional community outreach efforts that you'd like to see us do? So like I said, it's discussion only, so we can agendize something for formal action next month if so desired, or you can just say, hey, carry on.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. I would like to solicit some discussion from the board. Who would like to start? Bob.
I think we should write a letter to the state legislature, asking them to please standardize, to please standardize rules and regulations that apply to all the different classes of e-bikes. Specifying safety standards.
I agree with Bob that we should put something together for the state legislature and advocate for some guidelines or rules or something that we could enforce.
Okay. Any other suggestions, comments? Cody, Barb? Mark? Nolan? Bob?
I forgot to mention, I think we might be tempted to distinguish in our recommendation to the state legislature differences in rules between urban or urbanized areas and rural areas.
Can you elaborate on that point? I'm not sure I understand what you're trying.
Well, we should, in urban areas, there should be a prohibition of using certain kinds of e-bikes, specifically the motorcycles, on sidewalks. In rural areas, that really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Trying to think outside the box here because, as Aaron said, I work for another city. This is not just an Anthem issue. This isn't just an Arizona issue. Are there avenues we're not thinking about? Are there outside groups that we could partner with or encourage to get these kids to go to designated areas with the proper permitting, like off-road permits, and go for weekend rides? Go for, be a community, but do it the right way. Is that something, can we find out who these places are? Can we reach out to them through social media? Could we encourage them to try and get a following here where these kids would have some place to go or a group to be part of and do it the right way? Again, I'm just trying to think of things, law is always hard to change. It's going to be an uphill battle until, unfortunately, something happens that, that's the way my business always works. A lot of things don't change until something unfortunate might happen. And that's not a good way to think. That's just the way I'm programmed. But, what could we be doing that we're not?
I agree with all the comments. I would also like to add, I think we're doing outreach to communicate to the public what the rules are. But I think what we need to do is think more about what we can do to provide parent resources, meaning direct them to third-party safety classes. Aaron, you mentioned the idea of having the sheriff and the police get together and create a safety presentation for the community. I honestly believe that will be very well received. And at that time, providing additional resources that parents can use. Parents don't, as a parent, not all parents want to be bad parents. And so anything we can do to encourage them to go toward those resources for their kids before something bad happens to their kid, I think it's incumbent upon us to facilitate that. And I also agree strongly that we do need to create that letter and figure out a best way to present that letter, whether it's in person or what's the right vehicle to make sure that the appropriate lobbying is done representing Anthem's position.
May I ask a couple of clarifying questions here? So if you would like us to develop a letter, that would officially basically be establishing kind of an ACC position on this matter. Is there something you would like to like us to model it off of? Is there something that you've read or seen? Is it a another community here in Arizona? Is it some California, Utah? Is there something that you've seen that you're like, hey, I think that general, we can refine it obviously, but get us started on something?
I would say modeling it after Utah's. Utah seems to be pretty well thought out.
I would agree with that.
I would only suggest trying to find something more local for the fact that it would be something obtainable. It would really be hard for us to go after another state and use that as an example and say we want that here when we have Phoenix on the other side of the freeway. They seem to be a little bit more strict than the Maricopa County side, and that's right across the street. So if we try and pick something more local and move in that direction and push it up through legislation or talk to the right people, I think we could get some traction. If we come in and start using examples from other states, they might not be as receptive to that information.
So do you want us to use the Phoenix model as well? I guess that's what I'm saying is, because there are 100 examples we can use, and so I'm just trying to narrow down that list. If you want us to kind of cull through all of them to say, take what we think is best and offer that to you, we're happy to do that. I just want to make sure that I'm being in the vein that you want us to go.
I don't know if we're not going to solve this issue tonight.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if the letter needs to be drafted like between now and the next meeting. I'm thinking of a general direction or something we
Okay.
put to our community saying and I'm asking this, I'm not saying this is what we should do. Do we take a stance? Do we say, hey, I don't know. I don't know what it is that we're trying to accomplish up here because we don't have the control to make these rules for Anthem. So
I think there's a logical set of parameters that are highlighted in the Utah example without saying it's the Utah example. I mean, for that matter, you could go to ChatGPT and probably get a good cut at this. But might I suggest maybe, Bob, you volunteer to work with Aaron and see if we can draft something sooner than later.
We can do that. Yeah, we'll do that. And we'll look at Phoenix as well. And I just want to get something to get the conversation started. I realize this is going to be solved in 30 days. I totally realize that. I just want to make sure that we're kind of heading in the right direction. I'm not going off into the weeds.
Yes, I had another comment. I agree with all, setting the standard. But is there also a program for those of us who see it happening and what can we do? Like see something, say something, and maybe a campaign that's related to that?
The response is you're supposed to call the police.
Well, then maybe that's what we do. Then if we have a campaign, Steve puts out something that says see something, say something, and then we all call the police. I mean, they get it, they already know it. But unless it gives somebody like me a chance to do something, because I feel helpless, or anybody feels helpless when they see it happening. So just, one more aspect maybe to add something to our campaign.
What I would like to see is, and from Steve, is a campaign where a press release, something included in our newsletter that's also included in the HOA newsletters, because not everyone just reads our newsletter. A lot of people only read the HOA newsletters, so duplication isn't a bad thing. But also telling us as residents, giving us some guidelines, see something, say something, but also possibly being able to research some parent resources that we can immediately direct parents to, like right now, without waiting.
on that point with Barb's example, I would like to see that come up at the community public safety roundtables before it just gets sent out. We don't want to go rogue on this. We want to include Phoenix PD, MCSO, Daisy Mountain, and make sure we have shared messaging that we're not just sending out because as somebody who's in public safety myself, you would not want to call 911 to say you see a kid riding. That's not what, for the people in TV land or out there, that's not what I would advocate for. There would be a process to that, and we need to be good community partners if we're going to do something, some kind of message to the community, make sure that we're not going to give bad examples or things that shouldn't be done.
Well, great point. And maybe we could trigger a process to work with the appropriate folks and have that tied to the launch of that campaign.
I'd like to just briefly say something about this campaign, and I don't know what this potentially might look like, but as a avid motorcycle rider, I would love to see somebody from the community, like a parent of some sort, create an avenue to teach these kids about that type of safety, but it's somebody from our community. Is there a way that we can get involved with that, or is that out of our hands?
No, that's part of the point tonight, is just to say, hey, let's throw the stuff out there to see what we can put together. You know, I would want to make sure that we get a qualified third party to come in and provide instruction. You know, I don't want necessarily our staff, because we're not qualified, to be saying, hey, this is the way to do it. But if there are those groups out there that, hey, e-motorcyclers of Arizona who are good and they're qualified and they have a good reputation, come in and do something like that and use our community members as well to do that, I think that's a wonderful idea.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
Have we thought about engaging and working with schools on education campaigns? They do assemblies, and before and after school, they obviously like have crosswalks and people out there regularly engaging with kids. Or they might be doing it by themselves.
I was about to say, that's a question I think we can ask our local principals, what efforts they're doing right now. I have no idea, and I have no idea the school resource officers, what they're doing on that front as well. I know they're not ignorant to it. That I'm 100% sure of. So great question, though. We can research that as well.
Aaron, is it fair to ask that we were able to pull this together for our next board meeting?
We'll have stuff ready for discussion. I don't know if we'll have everything like baked and ready to go for you, but we'll have more than concepts of a plan. How's that sound?
Very good. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Aaron, anything else you'd like?
No, I think that gives us plenty of homework, so I think my plate's full on that one.
Okay.
I saw Steve taking notes too, which I appreciate.
Well, you did ask.
Yep, no, we absolutely did. And now Mike's getting out his pad for the next one. So if you're ready, we'll discuss field usage here. So I want to set the table for this agenda item. This was directors Barbie and Patterson asked for this agenda item. And it was a little bit like, hey, what are we doing with the fields? What's been the maintenance history? What are some possibilities in the future? So we may have gone a little overkill on this. So if you need us to pull back, we can pull back. But we really tried to go in depth on this and provide some conversation. I will say this, we are not advocating for changing the status quo. We can keep working the program we have right now. So there's some pretty serious recommendations. Some pretty serious ideas conveyed in this. We are not saying, hey, we need to do this right now. We're not saying that. But the questions were asked, hey, what would it take to do this? Or why don't we look at that? So we tried to look at everything and put it all out there on the table so that we could have a productive conversation instead of just kind of focusing on one small slice. So with that, let's kick it off. So we're going to go through usage, maintenance, improvements, and then maybe we should say 2 decision points. Maybe that's a little strong of a word. I shouldn't have used that, but that's my fault there. So, okay, next slide. We'll talk about usage here. So for the past, we went back and crunched the past 5 years worth of field usage data. So that this is kind of big picture stuff right here. We had almost 14,000 bookings, over 1.3 million in revenue. revenues averaging $28.62 an hour in 2025. That's up from the mid-teens just in 2021. And then our revenue per booking is averaging about $100 per booking. So and you'll see here our bookings overall are down, but the revenue per booking is up because we've increased our fees there. So in 2025, revenue was up to 283,000. As we talked about, we already mentioned the per hour there. So if you go back to 2021, this is where it gets really interesting. Our average revenue per hour was $13.79, $14 essentially. And through the years, based on recommendations from the Amenities Committee, situational awareness of what's going on around us as well, we have incrementally increased field fees, and now we're averaging $28.62 per hour there. As you can see, our number of bookings is down from the peak 2022 of 3,745 bookings. Now that was post-COVID. People were just wanting to get out of the house. And it was like, if you have basket weaving, I will sign my kids up for it. I'll sign up for it. Anything that I can do outside and not have to sit inside. So we experienced high volumes that year, but you see our average per hour is still pretty low right there of what we were retrieving in revenue. So I think you can see that we're trying to improve the situation, how to maximize each experience that we get there. So next. So then we look at total hours booked, and then we look at revenue per hour. You can see the difference there. Again, just this story of fewer bookings but better revenue per hour. There is a seasonality to our field demand, obviously, and that's part of, I think, what's contributed to some of these questions that have come up. Obviously, October through April, the good months. Our fields are very busy. And then June through August, you could shoot a cannon across them, except on July 3rd and not hit someone. I mean, you don't see hardly anyone out there, having a good time out there during the summer heat. Next. So let's talk about maintenance. So we have an active growing period for the Bermuda that's there. And we only on our sports fields, and this was a previous board discussion and direction that provided, we do not overseed our sports fields. And that is to allow the Bermuda to grow and develop a healthy mat so the root system connects. If you constantly overseed, the rye and the Bermuda mix, and it never allows that Bermuda to develop a good healthy mat, and the rye does not hold up to the traffic at all. So the current approach is the best approach for those sports fields. We've been doing it at Opportunity Way Park. We've been doing it in the outfields, the dog park, and it works well. But I will admit during the dormant period, that's when we're having peak usage. It does dry out and it does generate some dust. So it's this balancing act that we're trying to get to there. So next slide, please. I'd already talked about some of this. We talked about stopping the overseed. We do soil testing twice per year. We do targeted fertilizing as well. We do mechanically aerate it, and we do rotate the fields. But just like grass is a plant, and anytime you step on a plant enough times, it's going to get worn down. And so our goal is to just do the best we can. So try to keep that plant alive as long as we can and get it to come back the next growing season there. So the rotating the fields, though, has helped. And by rotating fields, we mean we do rest some areas, but also we rotate the orientation of the field and where the goals sit. So we might move it 20 feet one way or 40 feet another way. And we have a robot that goes around and sprays the fields for us. So we'll set it up and we'll say, okay, shift it 20 feet this way, and it does it. It's great. Works really well for us there. So we're doing everything we can there to try to lighten the use so that the goalie isn't always standing on the exact same spot, or midfield's not always in the exact same location there. So next slide. And And then what we're doing right now is we're investing about $8,600 a year in mowing, fertilizer, aerations, soil testing, weed control, all that. So there, DLC did provide some additional options if you wanted to pursue that, because that's kind of the question of, well, is there more we can do? Sure, there's more. And so these are kind of those price deltas as well. And then there's also the core aeration and sand top dressing as well. There is a recommendation. So, Mike, did I miss anything on this part on the maintenance that we haven't talked about that points need to be made?
No, I believe this is accurate.
Okay. All right, next slide, please. All right, so now we get into okay, we're not just going to put more fertilizer on it to make it look nicer and work kind of with what we've got. We're going to invest some serious money into this. And so, again, maybe the star with recommended is a misnomer because we're not recommending it, but that is from DLC. They're saying, hey, if you're going to do this, this is probably the one you ought to choose. But we're not saying you need to choose any of them. So then there's the kind of the base level of, hey, we could just add some native soil. That could be anywhere from $175,000 to $870,000, depending on what we find. We could do the sand cap, which would be, the 6-inch excavation, over X 6 inches and put new sand down, get better drainage. Then we could put in a separate drainage system, and that's the next one up. Or we could go all the way through the roof and do $1.75 to almost $3 million for synthetic turf. So that's the spectrum of kind of options that DLC provided. Now, I will say one of the questions we constantly get is water. Our water is reuse water. So it's gray water. What are the other terms for it? It's not your standard potable water. Like, kids should not be drinking out of the sprinklers. This is what comes out of EPCOR, and they gave it to us at a highly discounted rate. So I think it's important for people to be aware of that as we talk a little bit about that synthetic turf as well. But these are some, again, options. Now, any of these are not operating budget items. In my opinion, I would recommend that if the board desires to pursue anything like this, that it be submitted as part of the upcoming FMP process, just because it's so much money. This is not something we could fit into the normal operating budget in good conscience. We couldn't do it. But the FMP process is for this kind of stuff because we're enhancing one of our facilities, and this is the way we're choosing to enhance it, is this route. Mike, any comments on that?
No, the only thing that I want to point out is this particular sheet is only showing the cost of actually doing the work. It does not show any loss that we would lose on the fields while the work was occurring, because you're not going to be able to rent it, and you're not going to be able to rent it afterwards unless you were going with the synthetic turf. Otherwise, you'd have to let the
grass grow.
The new processed surface grow in grass and be playable. So you would probably have a season or two of weak areas.
Great point, thank you. Next slide, please. So if there is a desire for action, if you want to say, okay, we do want to do something, there's kind of these near-term and long-term options if you want to bring anything back for possible action. One would be, hey, we want you to look at maintenance and how you do your maintenance. The other would be capital improvements, but that's the long-term under the FMP process there. So it could be field reconstruction or even permanent amenities like bleachers, shade structures, seating, stuff like that. Again, that'd fall under FMP for that, but we could certainly go through that process and submit it there. And obviously, synthetic turf would fall under that as well. So that concludes the kind of the information that we have there. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have, or if you need additional information, we can bring back additional information for next meeting. Like I said, this is discussion, so.
Mark.
So lots. This is a lot of great information. Thank you so much. I mean, you and the team put a lot into this, and this is great information. The reason I brought this up was, well, let me first ask a couple clarifying questions, and we might have to defer over here. Does Opportunity Way have the same species of grass?
It has the same species of grass, but it had never been overseeded, so it's simply Bermuda through and through.
So do you think the reason that there's not as much dust over there as well is that it's just not used in the evenings and there's no lighting and has certain hours? And I feel like going over there versus our other fields, those fields have held up much better, but I also feel like they get less use.
Oh, you're correct. They definitely get less use. I think it's a combination of both.
Okay, so also, many of these talk about 6.5 acres of grass. A lot of the things I'm seeing here for fields, it says 6.5. Are we talking about Opportunity Way or just fields 1 through 4 at the main park?
Fields 1 through 4, the main park.
So we're all clear as a board, we're not talking about Opportunity Way at all on this. So I want to clear that up, and it does say Anthem Community Park. I just want to make that so everybody understands. What I was picturing was, what I was hoping to get is, what have we done over the last 5 years, which you do, you show that information nicely. And then the other part of my question is, what is the plan for the next 5 years? And the answer I got that evening was there is no plan right now. There is no plan for the next 5 years.
There's no additional plan, but the plan that we had started years ago is showing improvement year after year. The grass is recovering, it's recovering thicker, it's recovering quicker. So we were going to continue on with this existing plan, both as a means to improve the fields as best as we could while still maintaining fiscal awareness. But we can increase that. As we've indicated, we can do certain soil amendments and do some really high-end fertilizer things and continue our current program of rotating the fields, not overseeding, and things like that. So we can boost it up a notch or two, but again, it's going to be incremental year after year.
And you brought up a great point about the fields not being able to use and be rented for periods of time while you're doing these things, which is a huge consideration. Besides the actual condition of the grass or the field itself, I was also interested in seeding and shade. I did read through there, and it saw some of the concerns about bleachers, things like that, but we don't have to put bleachers on grass. We can put bleachers on pavers or bleachers on concrete, or we have other options. We could put in some movable shade structures or shade structures. We're not talking about putting shade structures over fields. We're talking about, or you put up a shade structure and let people bring their chairs and sit, their sports chair and sit underneath that shade. I would like to see something like what we did recently with Liberty Bell Park, where we invite a group of citizens and board members, residents and board members, to go out and say, what is it really? And come back with a plan to say, hey, here's some options. I don't think we need to spend any of the money on here. I don't think we need to spend any money at the right time right now. I think we need to figure out and run it through FMP, more long term.
I have a question. Everything I've heard is that the grass is fine. What problem are we trying to solve here?
I'll jump in on this because, I think anyone who walked the fields during the winter months especially has noticed there are dead spots and it's prime usage time, and so it kicks up the dust. And kids who are asthmatic, as they're playing, they're breathing this dust. And it isn't great to play in sometimes. There are months that it's just times and it's not great. And we can water it a little bit to keep the dust down, but you got to water it enough to keep the dust down, but not so much it turns to mud. So there's a balancing act that needs to happen there. And we try to reach that, but as I understand it, it's mainly the dust issue. It's not even so much, it's not an awesome playing surface as it is the dust.
But Mike, did I understand you to say that with current plan, with maybe some enhancements, that it will continue to improve?
it will improve incrementally, but eventually it will reach its best point. I don't believe we've reached that. I believe OWP being somewhere close to the quality that OWP currently is, but not even all the way there, because OWP does show lesser usage. Unless we change the usage for it, it will continue to get better for several more seasons, and then it's going to reach its peak with what we're doing with it right now.
If I may, just to provide some figures here. OWP Field 1 there had, in 2025, 582 total hours booked. Soccer Field 1 had 959. So that tells you kind of an order of magnitude of use, and that's formal booked use. That's not informal, people doing it, or e-bikes even too.
You're implying the difference is because of the condition of the field.
No, what I'm saying though is there's just significantly less usage at OWP, and part of it is lights, part of it's parking, as well. There are several reasons why it doesn't get the same level of usage as the main fields do, but there is a significant difference in usage. So that would be one of the reasons why the condition of OWP is better than the main park as well.
Any other comments? Mark?
I think Mark hit it on the head, and when we get to the FMP project, then that can be one of the projects that can be added for consideration. I'm impressed with the work that you went in for this one request from us, so thank you. That looks like a lot.
It was a team effort by multiple staff members and Mr. Baker and myself.
As I say, Scott's crew provided all of the field usage and the revenue, and so I appreciate that. Mike's crew jumped in with DLC. I mean, this was a team effort, and it was great. It was good to see it. Scott commented, goes, "Oh, I didn't even realize some of that was going on," and until we really went through and analyzed and realized, hey, we're doing really well on our revenue per hour and revenue per booking. We have improved that considerably, which I think is great. You don't always see that when you look at it on a macro level. So it's been good for us as well.
That concludes field usage discussion. Future board agenda items. Any board members have anything to add? None? Okay, open discussion. We do have one comment card from Chris Madsen. Come on up.
Hi, I just had one I call a concern, and this is where the park and ride is over off of Daisy Mountain. A few months, month and a half or so ago, we had a number of, I would call homeless people or people living out of their cars there. You find shell casings from guns, you find drug paraphernalia. As the weather heats up, it's slowing down, but there's like one car that's been there for at least 4.5, 5 months that has not moved. Again, it's near a school, and it's just not a good situation there. Again, I don't know who has jurisdiction over this. It's probably something we have to bring up at a safety meeting. But again, when it's near a school and behind the Circle K, near Starbucks, kids are coming from the schools through there. It's just not a good thing. I noticed today, I went by there purposely, that one car is still there, hasn't moved in months. And there's a couple other cars, and people are there all during the day in their cars trying to stay out of the heat because it's covered parking. Again, it's sometimes for a while there, they were going from there. The police must patrol around there, and sometimes they were then spending the nights over in the Fry's parking lot. Then they come back during the day over there. not a good situation for us in Anthem. Personally, I don't think.
Ms. Batson, if I may respond to that just quickly, we will certainly visit with the property owner that, interestingly enough, the property owner of that park and ride piece is the school. They are the ones responsible for it, for maintaining it and everything. So we'll make sure we follow up with Ridgeline Academy to make sure they're keeping an eye on that and fulfilling their responsibilities there of keeping it in the proper
It's in
shape.
their best interest
Yeah.
because it's their kids, right?
Right. It's in everyone's best interest there. So just as an FYI, I wanted you to be aware of that. But we have our new compliance person starting Monday, and so I'll put this on her desk and have her work on it. She'll do well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions from the audience? Okay, with that, I think we are done. I think we need a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you all for attending.